anybody that watched the spring game, and not just the injury that took place, but just the conversation around the spring game concerning the quarterback position. We know that Clemson's got a little bit of a scramble here in trying to find out who could be a capable backup.
Yeah, when we were up there last week, and all this, Clemson only makes all the position coaches available to the media once a year in the summer, and we got to talk to them all the other day. And one of the first things quarterbacks coach Brandon Streeter was asked, did y'all, scour the transfer portal looking for a backup? And he was pretty adamant about, if there was never really any serious consideration given to it. He said he's not concerned about the depth. He said he wasn't concerned. He was excited. He said he knows he doesn't have experience, but he knows he's got enough arms. The thing is, two of those arms are walk-ons, Hunter Helms, freshman Billy Wiles. And, I'm a big Hunter Helms fan. I like this kid. He's from Columbia. He had offers to go other places. He just wanted to go to Clemson, so he took the walk-on route, and a little bit of playing time he's had, he's looked good. But he's not the guy that's going to lead you to the promised land. That's for I don't think. I could be wrong about that. I really haven't seen enough of him to know either way. But what little I have seen, I don't think so. But I do like him. I question his arm strength. But he's been in here a year now. He knows the system. He's going to be the backup when the season opens. The wild card here, or I make two, because the first wild card would be Tyson Pumachan, how quickly he gets back. I think he's going to be back much quicker than originally anticipated. DJ was saying in Charlotte last week that maybe even by week 2, South Carolina State game, that Pumachan could be back. That's the goal he set for himself. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's back by the end of September, which would be, to me, that'd be best case scenario for them. And then you got this other freshman that's just come in, Will Taylor. And he's a small guy. Don't get me wrong. He's not a typical Power 5 guy. He's 5'9". He's probably less than 200 pounds. But he's a player, man. I think he just won a state title at Dutch Fork last year, quarterbacking that team, and he's different. He can throw the ball, but he's most about making plays with his legs. So if Clemson needs a guy for a game or a quarter or a half or whatever, I think they're fine. Problems might come in if DJ were to get hurt to the extent where he's going to have to miss weeks at the time, more than a game. But I think that's the case even if Pumachan's 100% healthy and never was hurt. The Clemson's key to the successful season they want to have and make it to the playoff. Number one key is keeping DJ healthy. He's got to stay healthy.
And one reason he'll stay healthy is that if they can develop these young running backs in pass pro. So they got to protect the quarterback's blind side and help out the left tackle and help out at the middle on some of those pass pro plays. And, of course, everybody's excited about Will Shipley and Phil Maffa. Look at the running back position for us, and what do you think is going to happen there?
Yeah, the running back competition, that's one of the things that I'm most anxious to see how it plays out. I would bet anything, Lynn J. Dixon gets first crack at the job. That's just how Dabo Swinney typically does things. He's been there 3 years, patiently waited his turn behind Travis Etienne. He could have easily transferred out when Etienne decided to come back last year. Didn't, stayed the course, and last year was probably his worst season yet. I think he played a little bit more banged up than most of us realized, but I'm really anxious to see Dixon this season and how he looks as the guy, because I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen anything out of him in 3 years to make me confident in his ability to be the every down back of this team. I could be wrong. We have, to me, he still runs too high and leaves himself open to getting hit, but he's really fast and he sees the field well. If he's taking a next step in his development, he might be able to hold those young guys off, but it's going to be hard because, like you said, those young guys behind him, those are you got a 5-star in Will Shipley, 4-star in Phil Maffa, who I maintain and still maintain was severely underrated by the recruiting services. I think he is a stud. And then you got this kid, Kobe Pace, sophomore, didn't play much last year, but was really talked about a lot in the spring. Coaches loved the way he came in this spring, his mindset and where he was physically and mentally, and he looked really good in the spring game. He looked really good. C.J. Spiller said a couple of weeks ago that they don't need a lead dog at running back this year. They need a collective effort, and I could see this thing maybe end up being some kind of running back by committee type approach. There's so much talent in that room. You know, that's 4 guys right there who are all blue chip prospects and all very talented.
Jason Priester's here to break down the Clemson Tigers. Fall camp opens on Friday. You can catch Jason's work, of course, at allclemson.com on SI. And so the offensive line, of course, has been a big concern. How much of it's set in terms of who's going to be up front and how much needs to be figured out?
I think the starting 5 is pretty much set. You know, they went into the spring saying they wanted to get the 5 best guys on the field, and we pretty much knew who the 5 guys were going to be. It was just a matter of where they'd be at. I think really the only real question was whether Jordan McFadden would move from right tackle to left tackle, and would Walter Parks slide into that left tackle role left vacant by Jackson Carman. I think McFadden's going to move from right tackle to left tackle, and Parks is going to play right tackle. And then, you know, Bob Course is back at left guard from last year. Will Putnam's back at right guard from last year. And, you know, one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, they got a new center, Hunter Rayburn. How he played, you know, how he performs this season is going to go a long ways toward deciding how successful this offensive line is. I thought the offensive line was pretty good, you know, when it come to pass protection last year. I thought it left a lot to be desired when it come to run blocking. Me and you talked about it before. Travis Etienne's numbers, the running game numbers were down across the board, 2 yards per carry. There just wasn't a lot of room to run, and they had to replace 4 starters last year. I really think the shutdown hurt them more than a lot of other teams, since they had to replace so many starters. And having that time to gel this year, having a year under their belt, taking their lumps last year a little bit, you know, Will Putnam really struggled, and he was a highly touted recruit. You know, when he came in, he's got a very high ceiling. I think a guy like him taking his lumps last year, I think that's a good way to learn on the job. And I really think this offensive line is going to be better, no doubt about it. The real question is it that much better? Is it better enough to beat the Ohio States and Alabamas in the playoff and the Georgias in the opener? Because we know it's good enough to beat pretty much every other team on the schedule.
Yeah, and we know the defense is that good too. 10 starters back. And again, the defensive metrics during the regular season have been just as good as they've been through the championship years, but the letdowns against Ohio State and LSU. So not a whole lot to go on the defensive side. Is there anything that interests you that needs to be figured out at all?
No, I think, you know, maybe the rotation at safety. You know, I was not impressed at all with the safety play last year. I thought they got beat like a drum too often. They just looked, to me, they looked undersized at times and looked lost at times. And I know those guys were like Landon Zanders. You know, he was hurt most of the season and had off surgery right after the season was over. So he was playing the whole season hurt pretty much. But, you know, it's time for him and guys like Joseph Charleston, Jalen Phillips. It's time. This is their 3rd year now, you know, and Ray Thornton and R.J. Mickens. Those guys have been here a year or either 2 years now, depending on who we're talking about. It's time for those guys to step up and produce and be productive, not get deep. I mean, and they're going to be tested in that opening week, man. Those tight ends Georgia's got, those are big boys, you know. Eric Gilbert and the other tight end Georgia's got, those are, you know, 6'7" guys, you know, and they're going to have to be on their A game. I think another name to watch for is Barrett Carter. I know he's listed as a linebacker by the recruiting services. He didn't enroll early. He's just getting here for fall camp. But this guy's a football player, and he's a stud, and he's going to be, you know, more of a nickelback type guy, especially this year. I think Clemson officially lists him as a safety right now. But I'm curious to see if he can crack the rotation in such a short time and get on the field. I mean, physically, he's that good. We're going to find out if he is that good mentally. And another freshman to watch is Andrew Makuba. You know, that he was really talked about a lot in the spring. Brent Venables is real high on him. Another freshman safety. If those other guys I talked about a minute ago aren't at the level they need to be, this is a guy who could come in and you know, take those snaps from those guys.
Jason Priester rolling up his sleeves for us today, doing some great work, breaking down Clemson across the board, both for 2021 and what's going to happen the next few weeks to get ready for Georgia. And, of course, oh, my goodness, who knows? The SEC, who knows what else is in the future concerning college football. We've seen it, the world in college football shaken over the last, like, 3 or 4 months. Who knows what else is going to happen? Jason, we always appreciate you stopping by, laying down the knowledge for us.
Anytime, man. Anytime. It's my pleasure.